What do a Venezuelan dictator, an alleged CEO killer, and the most trolled rapper alive all have in common? They are all currently sharing the same Brooklyn zip code, behind federal bars. That is right. Tekashi 6ix9ine is back in prison, and somehow the circumstances are even wilder than the last time. If you thought this story could not get more unhinged, buckle up, because it absolutely does. And before we dive in, if you are new here, welcome to the Hip Hop Watchdog. Hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell right now, because this is exactly the kind of story we break down better than anyone else. So let us rewind the clock and set the scene properly, because the road that led 6ix9ine back to a federal detention center is not a short one. It's a greatest hits album of bad decisions with a very expensive price tag. You remember how this started. Back in 2018, Daniel Hernandez, born in Brooklyn, raised on chaos, was arrested on federal racketeering and firearms charges tied to his involvement with the Nine Trey Bloods gang. Facing the kind of sentence that would make a grown man cry, we are talking 32 years to life, he did what very few people in that world ever do. He flipped. He took a plea deal, pleaded guilty to 9 charges, testified against his former associates, and walked out of prison in 2020 with a reduced sentence and a supervised release agreement hanging over his head like a sword on a very thin string. Now here's where it gets interesting, and by interesting we mean spectacularly self-destructive. Supervised release is essentially the federal government saying, we are giving you a second chance, do not blow it. The rules are not complicated. Stay in state, show up to court on time, do not do drugs. Simple, right? Not for 6ix9ine. He left the state without permission, showed up an hour late to court, and tested positive for methamphetamine. Twice. That's not slipping through the cracks. That's running at the cracks full speed with your eyes wide open. But wait, it gets worse. Authorities later raided his Florida home and found cocaine and ecstasy inside. And if that wasn't enough, he punched a man at a Florida mall who was taunting him. So by the time he sat in front of a federal judge, he wasn't explaining one mistake, he was explaining a full highlight reel of violations. The judge was not impressed. Nobody was. 3 months at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Done. Now here's where this story takes a turn from wild to genuinely surreal. The Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC Brooklyn, is not your average county jail. This is a federal facility with a guest list that reads like a crossover episode nobody asked for. Nicolás Maduro, the Venezuelan president, is in there. Luigi Mangione, the man accused of shooting a healthcare CEO in broad daylight in Midtown Manhattan and triggering one of the most bizarre cultural moments in recent American history, is in there. Past residents include Diddy, R. Kelly, and Ghislaine Maxwell. And now, Tekashi 6ix9ine, the rainbow-haired Brooklyn rapper who snitched his way to freedom and somehow ended up right back where his story began. You honestly cannot write this stuff. His attorney confirmed that Hernandez would be placed in protective custody, likely in the high-profile section of the facility. So while the general population is in one wing, 6ix9ine is down the hall with a sitting foreign leader and one of the most talked-about defendants in the country. If there was ever a dinner table conversation you wanted to eavesdrop on, that would be the one. And the send-off? Equally unreal. Rather than slipping quietly into custody, 6ix9ine did what 6ix9ine does. He made it a spectacle. He joined a nearly 2-hour live stream on Aiden Ross's channel with friends surrounded him, with music blasting in the limo on the way to the facility. Someone even cut his ankle monitor off camera. When he finally walked through those doors and disappeared from the frame, Aiden Ross turned to the camera and said something that summed it up better than any headline could. The mood in that limo went from a farewell party to a funeral in about 30 seconds flat. He's expected to serve his 90-day sentence and be released around April 2026. Whether he comes out swinging with new music or walks into yet another legal disaster, one thing is certain. The story of Tekashi 6ix9ine is never boring, never quiet, and absolutely never over. Thanks for watching.